If you want news and rumors that appeal, welcome to the Dusty Wheel.
Hey, welcome back to the Dusty Wheel.
If you want news and rumors that appeal, welcome to the Dusty Wheel.
Hey, welcome back to the Dusty Wheel.
Hey, welcome back to the Dusty Wheel. I'm your host, the Innkeeper, and this is our live call and talk show all about the Wheel of Time. And tonight, we're actually digging back in to the Wheel of Time TV show. That's right. I know you are sick and tired of talking about these books, or at least for now. We're going to be taking a break. We'll come back. We'll do some deep dives in the books like we normally do. We'll cover Robert Jordan's notes like we do. But it's April, and we got to switch it up a little bit here. So why don't we talk about Season 2? But before we do that, before I introduce my wonderful guests, I want to make sure that all of you remember this, because next week is important. This is what's happening next week. Yes, Wheel of Time Idol Season 3 premiere. It's back. And, oh man, I actually have not watched all of your entries. I think there's over 40, maybe 45 of them at this point. I wouldn't be surprised if we hit 50. And that means that there will likely be 3 shows. Right now, we only show 2 on the channel. A premiere next Wednesday at 9 p.m. Oh, actually, it does say 9 p.m. Eastern. It might be 8 p.m. Eastern, just to save some time, because it's going to be a long show. And then the finals will actually happen. The finals are going to be happening on that Saturday. So not this Saturday, but the following Saturday at 12 p.m. Eastern. So, yeah, it's going to be amazing. Just like last year, we tell this all the time. Super ridiculously creative fans out there have come up with Wheel of Time parodies, song parodies. If you have never seen this before, there's playlists out there. You can go check them out for the last 2 seasons of this. Yes, we're calling them seasons. And this is our 3rd season doing this, and people continue to get crazily creative. So I can't wait till you see them. Again, I haven't seen them all. I think I've seen 2 at this point. I have 40 some odd to watch this weekend, as I catch up to make sure that we're ready. And you'll have to wait until the show and then vote on them to see the full thing. That's how this works, everybody. So that's it. That's the only announcement we have right now. Let's dive into Season 2 of the Wheel of Time TV show. And to do that with me are my 2 wonderful guests for this evening. Welcome, Joe from Talkaron Riyadh, and Bree, or mostly Bree as you might know her on Twitter, author and also huge Wheel of Time geek. It's nice to have you both back here at the Dusty Wheel. How are we feeling about Season 2 at this point, Bree? Are you ready, or are you just kind of like whatever, whenever it drops?
I mean, I'm giving them time. I want them to finish it as best they can, give us all the great special effects, but then if they wanted to give it to me all tomorrow, I'd be okay.
Okay. Okay, that's good. You're. I know. What's funny is that Twitter of Time feels like it's turned into this really, really patient people that get annoyed by impatient people. The patient people that are just like, whatever, let people fan. The really, really impatient people that are annoyed by the patient people. Or the really impatient people that are just like, whatever, just be whatever type of fan you want to be. So it's,
somebody sedate all of us.
Exactly. I get it. I guess there's a certain fan out there that's just like, I don't care, but they're not going to be watching the show anyway. So, okay. Basically tonight, everybody, we're going to try to dig into every single theme that's possible to discuss, plots, characters. Basically, the next 5 hours, we're going to breaking down the TV show. We're not going to do that. But for season 2, we're just going to spend the next 90 minutes, maybe 100, 110, whatever, talking about themes for the Wheel of Time season 2, talking about adaptations, what makes us good, what do we think Rafe's going to do. I'm going to play some quotes from Rafe. I know you're thinking maybe I'm going to put some quotes up on the screen. I didn't have enough time this week, so we'll see. We'll see what happens. So, yes, Rajesh in chat said, also, I like this quote. I have to put this one up. Also the clowns. Yes, there is also the clowns, and I definitely count myself to be one of them. Clowning around on Twitter time is a fun pastime. Joe, how you feeling? Season 2, where you raised your hand. Where did you categorize yourself in those 4 or 5 groups? Joe, you're muted, man.
Yeah, look at that. I'm muted. I've never done this before. I'm in that second to last group, I think. The impatient people who just, want it to come out now, or at least find out when it's going to come out. Like, I don't even need the season out right now. I just kind of need to know, like, around when is it going to come out? So then I could, be happy. Then I'll become patient.
I want to know, there's 132 votes on this first poll question we have here. I want to know where you ended up. Will we see the first teaser trailer for season 2, April, May, June, or July or beyond?
June. I think we're getting a September release. I think it's going to take the spot of the Lord of the Rings spot from last year. So I think we would get a teaser around June. Around June.
How about you, Brie?
I'm going to have to go on the conspiracy theory clown train with this one. I'm holding on. That one time they tweeted the poll with the first letters spelled yam or May backwards. I'm going for something's happening in May.
Okay, I like it. You're like, I'm totally patient, but I like to clown a little bit. I got
yes. I will not. I'm refusing to predict anything except for this one thing that I'm going to double down on until I look absolutely ridiculous. So
okay, I love it. I love everyone. I love everyone throwing this in there.
Maybe yams was a reference to Thanksgiving, and maybe that's when the show's going to come out.
Yeah, this happened before last Thanksgiving.
By the way, the yams
it was
theory
like a
is
long play.
We could do a whole show on the theories about. We should. Depending on how long it takes them to get us any more information over the next 2 months, maybe we'll do a whole live stream just based on release theories, because that's how I actually like to clown around here. So I've seen lots of comments that are making me laugh in chat, so I appreciate that. Everyone keeping me entertained. Let's jump into this. I want to start off with themes. And I want to talk about what Rafe has said about his approach to the Wheel of Time. So, but before we talk about Rafe and what he considered the themes of the books and how he wanted to portray them, or maybe did, or how season 2 is affected by that, Bree, for you, what are some of the, just off the top of your head, 1 or 2 themes for you that are the most obvious, I guess, or the ones you wanted to see portrayed in the television show?
Are we full spoilers?
Oh, good. Look at you.
I'm thinking.
Great question.
Okay.
Yes, I think look, if you're watching this, for the moment, when we talk about book questions, I'll put this up. When we talk about the TV show, I feel like I can take it down, but we'll try to have my guests not break into the whole books and too far into it. But I just, with a general question about themes, yes, for the moment, let's go full book spoilers just for this moment, and feel free to kind of jump into that. So anyone that's here, maybe take a break, mute it. Okay, be vague. That works.
I think that one of my favorite themes from the Wheel of Time is that people who act on their own, solo great heroes fail, but communities who work together win. Okay. And that's sort of one of my favorite things, how everything in the last turning, people wouldn't agree, they wouldn't come to terms, they went off on their own and they did their own thing and everything fell apart. And on this turning, they decided to work together and it worked. And I think that is actually this is my little conspiracy theory. We got to see that in Minnie in season 1 when Moraine has her big secret and she's talking about how arrogant these men were, right? That's the first thing we hear from her. And what does she do? Spends the whole season not asking anyone for help, not communicating with anyone, launches a boy out into the blight and
Yep.
possibly accidentally causes more problems than she fixes.
I like that. I like that a
So-
lot. I'm thinking that's going to be a big theme in season 2 is specifically with Rand. Rand can't do it all alone because that's a huge theme in the books too. Like he's trying to do everything by himself and he can't.
Yeah. Jordan put it this way, kind of somehow, it has to do with what you just brought up, Bree, what he said, like, what are the books about, basically? And he's like, in 6 words he was given, he did it in 5. He's like, cultures clash, worlds change, cope. You know, and what you're seeing, right? You're seeing that aspect of this, which is the coping. How does each person cope, right? How does each culture cope? How does each, village, if you will, how does each government, people, group cope with this clash of cultures and the changing world, whether or not it's the dark one or not? And then how does that turn out? And Jordan often doesn't, what I like about it, he doesn't really make any commentary about if they did it the right way, right? Like, this is the proper coping mechanism, or this is not. Although he does, I guess, make it really clearly about Rand. I guess maybe Cod Swain makes a clear designation about how she feels like Rand is coping, and how she believes that's wrong. But Joe, for you, is there like a top one before we dig into what Rafe was saying for you? Theme in the Wheel of Time book that kind of stands out, top 1 or 2?
Well, I mean, one of the biggest themes in the book is balance, right? The balance of good and evil, and how, spoiler alert, I'll be very vague though to the very end, the very end of the book, we learn that, trying to destroy the Dark One and just make the world all good isn't the best way to do it. So that's always been one of the big themes that I've taken away.
I think that's and when we I think that's a perfect kind of moment to share this first clip. That's right, everyone. I don't have like a lot of quotes to show you, but we do have some YouTube clips, so that's something, right? Because these are some things or questions that, for example, Rafe has answered before.
Differ from maybe other fantasy stories.
Yeah. 1 second, Amy. Well, let's play this one. This one came from, I think this was the New York Comic Con. Was this? Yes, it was 2021, and Rafe was talking about.
Audiences have seen before.
It's interesting because when the books came out in the early 90s, there were so many things that were revolutionary about them at the time. It was this first series to have a big ensemble cast with different POV characters that you go into their chapters. It was the first fantasy book series where half that cast was women. But I think the thing for me that's really interesting and really drew me to doing the adaptation of the series now was that Wheel of Time is really more inspired by Hinduism and Buddhism, and these Eastern philosophies. So in our world, reincarnation exists, and the ultimate goal is not for good to defeat evil. It's to restore balance to this world that's out of balance. And I think, the world around us right now is fairly polarized, and to have a show that is talking about what it means to find balance, I think is super relevant to the time right now.
Can you tell us like a little bit?
So I thought that was interesting because, and this is kind of silly to say maybe, reading the books as a kid, I was just like, oh, cool, it's like fantasy. And like, yeah, I get it. People come back and they live again. And yeah, it wasn't like that's a highlight, as in I love the metaphysics of it, but I never as a kid really dug into where is this influence coming from, and like what is Jordan really trying to say about why did he use reincarnation? Why did he use this idea of living over and over again? Like, what's the purpose of that? And so that is one thing that did stand out to me, not because I think they were wrong, and it stood out to me because I'm like, oh, this feels like something in the books it exists, but he's definitely making a point of it, right? He's taking this theme and really making sure that it is embedded. He talks later in some other quote where one of the writers, I think in the writer's room, her family comes from a culture where reincarnation is a part of their life, and talks and how that influences, and try to talk about how that would influence the writing of this, and what's the mindset of people that actually believe that they will live again, and maybe in a different way, but a different incarnation of them. But so that I thought that was interesting that he really brought up balance, and then he's brought up balance before, but this is like, but he was focusing on the reincarnation aspect as one of the key things. Bree, this shows up in season 1. Do you think that this is going to transcend continuing to season 2, or is it just kind of presenting the world and he's going to move on and it'll just kind of be subtly there versus kind of more in your face?
No, I think that it's definitely it's going to be something that we're going to keep seeing, because this is a world out of balance. And you know, I love you, Rafe. I'm gonna have to like go back and like correct him on one thing. I was reading books at the same time these came out, you know, that were cast full of women. They were just written by women. So I'll say that, Rafe. Bad boy.
Not as maybe mainstream or something. Yeah.
They weren't getting publisher support to become blockbusters, because publishing is what it is. So I think that one of the things that that you specifically said, that they had writers in the room who had experience with these sort of things. The first thing I thought of when I originally heard that was, wow, is that why the Tuathan came across so amazing in the show? Because I feel like the books, you know, they never sold me on this, but that one speech from Isla, like that thing about how she's making her world better, not because she thinks she's going to come back and see it, but like, you know, everything she does to make these worlds better for a future that someday she'll get to see. Like, it really felt like it came from a place of someone who was thinking about this on a whole different level. You know, like I thought that, and so I'd really like to see, you know, also not just that, but also Dana, like the converse of that. Dana saying, oh my God, are you going to keep bringing me back for this shit? And I was like, okay, this is the first time I thought Ashamael might be making points.
That's Ashamael's whole point. Like, she's kind of the mouthpiece of him at that point in the show.
You brought up something. I'm looking for this quote. I think it's this one. Oh, I might actually have this quote, and I think it's relevant here. If it's not exactly this next one. Oh, maybe it is here. Does he talk about it here? I don't want to do that one just yet. So, but basically, I think the idea is that his first approach to the season 1, instead of taking a POV approach, right, where you have like just Rand and it's Rand's view of the world, he wanted to kind of pull back and give everyone, like, present everyone to the audience. And so that is an adaptation choice that he made, which did what you said. And I heard this kind of complaint from book fans a lot, which was, well, I don't care about these people. Like, I don't care about this plot. This is something new. It's not even in the books. I don't need it. And Rafe's goal was actually to introduce the Wheel of Time world, it sounds like, to new fans out there. Like, who are the Tuathan? Why is what they have to say maybe relevant to the story we're about to hear? Who are the White Cloaks? Who are the Warders? How does this bond affect things? And it's not like it's getting away from that kind of initial plot of the first book, where it's just like they show up in this village and it's just this boy's view of everything that's going on, and more into kind of, I'm introducing the world itself to new fans. And I thought it was interesting because I think he's changed his approach in season 2, and I'm going to look for that quote while we talk a little bit more here. But yeah, anything else stand out to you, Joe, in what Rafe just said in this one?
Yeah, I think, I brought up balance before. I didn't know you were going to play that quote, everybody. That wasn't planned. I brought up balance.
I know that worked out really well.
The perfect time to bring up the quote, but it is such a huge theme in the stories, and I think Robert Jordan said it, himself, that it's all about balance, and I think bringing that up front in the very beginning, I know they reference it a few times in the first season. I think it's great that he's doing that, and I agree with Bree. I think that's going to be throughout the series, and it's going to be it's going to be in your face, I think, most of the time, especially when they're talking about the men and the women who can channel, and right now the disparity that's going on between that with the corruption that's going on. So I mean, we've all seen the interviews with Rafe. Rafe knows what the story's about. He knows what's going on in there. He knows what points that he needs to hit. But also, again, he's also balancing that, doing a 14-book series in 6-7 seasons, and then dealing with how many 10,000 notes from Amazon people. So it's really tough for him to try to do all this, and I don't envy him for doing that. But Yeah, I think he knows. I think he knows what he's got to do.
You can't quite see this full quote on the screen, but I'll put this up here. Big Reader Pike, and Bree, I want to ask you about this. So the problem is that Rafe tried to do that, but he failed for a lot of characters, but he didn't get inside their heads and express them very well, because most of the books you only hear stuff from inside. How do you feel like Rafe did when it came to, because this is a different tact, right? The book doesn't take this, right? This approach at the beginning of it. So how do you think that Rafe gave or was able to communicate who these characters were well? Do you think he failed or suffered in some parts? Like it didn't like hit for you as much as you kind of hoped it would with this approach?
Well, you know what the interesting thing is? Like, I feel like none of us who have read the books are really reliable narrators on this. Like, we know too much to know if he's conveying the right information. And we all have our favorite parts of these characters, you know. So one of the things that I got kind of obsessed with while the show was airing was watching these first-time watcher reactions from people who hadn't read the books. Yeah. And I feel like with most of these characters, they were just coming out with this like incredible nuance and like really amazing takes on who these people were that was like nothing that any of us could have said after Eye of the World. Like the things that they were, the depth of the understanding they had for these characters after this first book. And like, let's be real, Eye of the World did not teach us much about anybody but Rand. Yeah. And so like, it was just not the way you introduce an ensemble TV show. And I think that there were some things like if I had my biggest problems were mostly with Perrin. I feel like that, like, you know, some of the changes weren't my favorite way to go about it. And then I think he is going to be one of the hardest characters to adapt anyway. Like, I'm a novel writer because I want to be in their head. Yeah. I do not understand TV people and their mysterious ways of like just getting to like tell all the story. I would not want to have to tell Perrin's story without being able to be in his head. That's a tough one. I think it's a fair criticism to say. Again, it can't be that Rafe did it. Like, no one's perfect, right? They tried, and I think Perrin is one that I'm looking for in season 2 because I want to understand what he's thinking. They said they took kind of an external event approach to him to try to get us to understand him because he's so in his thoughts. I still don't know that I felt like season 1, I still felt like I was kind of really confused. Like I felt like I want to understand what's going on in Perrin's head. I don't know that he seems conflicted. That's what I got. Perrin's conflicted. I also feel like maybe, you know, I mean, he was unconscious for an episode and then we have no idea what Matt leaving did, but like there were probably changes. I feel like his arc may have suffered. My hope is since that we know Elias is cast for season 2, having a mentor who he's going to be able to have discussions with and actually talk to. I'm ready to like jumpstart this arc now. That's what I want most. I want some Perrin redemption.
Yeah, I'm interested to find out too in season 2 because we've seen the clips. He's with the Shannarans, so like Perrin trying to be all, you know, non-violent and, you know, deal with that while he's with Shannarans who are extremely, you know, martial. I wouldn't say violent, but, you know, that's how they deal with things. So it's going to be interesting to see that dynamic in the second season.
I mean, it's certainly, hopefully we'll get more. To your point, Bree, I want to play this clip because this is what I meant by from an adaptation standpoint, where I think it did suffer a little bit in season 1, and I'm more hopeful in season 2. So this was an interview that Rafe did with Dragonmount. So let me prep this clip. 1 second, everybody. I think this is here's a question from Kathy Campbell, one of the hosts over there on their channel, and then we'll listen to his answer, and I want to talk about that, and then what I believe is maybe a different approach that he's taking in season 2, where he also gave us a sound bite, which I think is really helpful. So here, enjoy, everybody.
What major lesson did you learn that you took from season 1 that helped inform your process or the structure or the setup or anything for season 2?
Yeah, I think season 1 coming in, we had a very clear plan of doing a longer season to tackle that and had to compress it. And so going into season 2, you know, we tried to be, obviously I have my long-term plan for the show. And so that all shifts with 8 episodes instead of 10 episodes. But going into season 2 with more foreknowledge of how long it would be, we were able to try to figure out ways to get longer episodes in, figure out how to get more of the story that we need to tell, because we have, if we had a lot of story to tell in season 1, we have a massive amount of story to tell in season 2. It's
it only gets bigger,
shattering at times. And so I think a big lesson we learned was being able to approach it from the beginning like that, and in some cases, changing the story more in order to be able to get through the whole story more effectively. So it's kind of a counterintuitive thing where I feel like sometimes we can actually pull off some of the story pieces and delivering on things from the books more effectively if we don't try to hit every single tiny beat of it, because the adaptation we're doing is just at a different scale than other things in terms of like the amount of page, we're trying to do, if we get our whole.
So let me stop there. He follows up later with a quote that I want to. So there's a couple things he said there. Sounds like he went into season 1 with a 10 episode approach.
Yeah.
And we got 8 episodes out of it. So if you figure like we missed out on 20% of what we were going to get. And so when I think of someone like Perrin, or I think of some of the plots and story overall where I felt it kind of suffered a little bit, or a lot, is I feel like I'm going to give him credit that I think that 20% would have done a lot more than he had planned to give us, and he didn't get. We got that cut out. It sounds like they've come into season 2 with knowing they're having 8 episodes, and knowing you're writing, and maybe Bree, you can kind of speak to this, like knowing you're writing for 8 episodes and getting 8 episodes. What's the difference in knowing you're writing or thinking you're writing for 10 and getting 8? Like from
and obviously, again, I like write books, and so it's like a sort of different thing. Though I think that it's something that's interesting to compare was Robert Jordan starting these books thinking he was writing 3 or 6 or 7 or 9 or 12. And like, it's almost the converse problem, he's so Rafe. I can't imagine trying to cut stuff out, but this is something that I have talked about a lot before. I think what he meant there when he said you have to change the story to tell the story better is the difference between what I call like the plot and the story. The story being the emotional journey that we have to take these characters on and the lessons they have to learn, versus the plot being, so it's like a road trip. If we're going to get in our car and start in Boston and go to LA, we have to get to LA eventually, and we have to stop at a few landmarks along the way. Like Matt hopefully has to have his quarterstaff fight. He has to touch some cursed treasure. He has to do some other little things along the way. But like, other than that, you can drive anywhere you want as long as you like hit those big landmarks. Mm-hmm. And so I think that what he can do is hopefully chart a more efficient path where our stories can cross together, where we can have these big growth moments and these big character moments and learning moments. So maybe they're not going to happen in the same cities. Maybe they're not going to happen under the same circumstances, but there's still going to be these people learning the same lessons, hopefully. And since he knows how long he's got to do it in, he can do a much better job at planning. Because like, imagine they've told you you're going to have to go from Boston to LA, and then they say, oh yeah, now you have 3 days. Like right. So how are you going to hit Texas and Minnesota on the way? It's
you can't stop as many as, that's a good analogy, because you can't stop at all the landmarks, right?
Yeah.
And some of us readers have favorite landmarks, and we're never going to see them. In fact, you might just get a story of the landmark, like, and by the way, I don't know if you noticed, but I'm gonna have to tell you what it looked like. It was basically this big building, and you would have been really cool if you had seen it. Moving on, right? Like, so there's an aspect
I feel
of
so
that.
bad for people who love Matt and Rand's road trip. I did not care about Matt and Rand's road trip, so I did not miss it. But no I know there are people who love it, and I feel bad because, like, imagine you've been waiting to go on this big trip your whole life, and then they're like, "Oh yeah, the ball of twine is back there. We're not going to see it."
I haven't heard one person say they missed that road trip, but
I have heard several. I have, and I think if like Matt and Rand's relationship is important to you in the stories, then like, yeah, you're gonna miss that part.
I think they did a good job. We're talking about season 1, I guess, but I think they did a really good job at displaying Matt and Rand's relationship and with the time we got with them in season 1.
So, Joe, for you, this idea of, I mean, it seems intuitive now that we've been through a first season where he says, he basically says, so it's kind of counterintuitive, where I feel like sometimes we can pull off some story pieces and deliver things from the books more effectively if we try not to hit each beat. And seeing 8 episodes for that first book, and trying to introduce the world, right? Because it's not just hitting the book beats. He took an adaptation approach to introducing everyone to the world instead of just going from beat to beat. So this idea that this is happening, he's already said we're covering books 2 and 3. He actually said 1, 2, and 3 once for season 2, right? So now we're talking about the Great Hunt, Dragon Reborn, and some of the Eye of the World in season 2. And knowing he only has 8 episodes, you know, how are you feeling when it comes to plots and you start plotting out things from the book? Are you like extracting half of them and just chucking them out the door? Are you just hoping that you're going to hit the landmarks on your trip, even though in reality, there's no chance we're going to hit all those landmarks?
Yeah, I think, well, if you're expecting to hit all those landmarks, you're crazy, by the way. And I think we've talked about this before, and it's been talked about on your show and in other places that, right, books 2 and 3 kind of have very similar paths, right? It's like a chase. They're like chase books, and there's a big battle at the end. And I think they're the perfect books to combine because of that. You can kind of split the characters up a little bit and have some do things that happened in book 2 and some do things that happen in book 3, and they're all going to meet up at the end, just like they did at the end of each of those 2 books. You're going to have to cut some stuff out, push some stuff, right? I think he said at one point that there's something fairly big that's going to be pushed off to later in the series, and I think I know what that's going to be.
I'm interested in your theories.
Well, if you want to, it's a Calendar. I don't think we're going to see Calendar in this season. I
no
think that's going to
Calendar,
get pushed off to later.
It's got to be. He said we're going to Falma, unless they've thrown Calendar and Falma, which is possible.
Yeah,
I don't think so, because they mentioned the Stone of Tyr in season 1 explicitly, and we saw it in Swan's episode.
That's the only place we don't know that they're going. We know they're going to Falma. We know they're going to Kyrian. In these 2, these are like the 2 new places that we definitely know that are going to appear in season 2. We don't know about Tyr. I don't know how they're going to do it if they wanted to do it. I mean, they could.
I've been doing Waygate math, I'm telling you guys.
Yeah, Rand could fight.
We've seen a lot of Waygates.
We have seen a lot of Waygates, and I have been like murder boarding them with the climates of various places.
Well, one of the theories what co-host Tom has is that, you know, there's the big battle in Falm, and then maybe Ishi escapes through a gateway. He creates a gateway to the Stone Tyr, and then Rand jumps in and they fight in Tyr, and he pulls Calendar.
Please no. Yeah.
I mean, that's a possible way they could do it. They could also push it off till.
I mean, they put the horn underneath the throne, so it's always possible. The horn ended up under the throne, so it's possible they gate into.
That's
the
a very secure throne. Nobody was looking there.
Or Calendar.
I mean, you think it's safer in the White Tower?
Yeah, Calendar could be in Meridian. Who knows? Calendar could be in Meridian, or they could come back from the Waste and go to Tyr instead of Kyrian. There's a lot of different things you could do. There's so much.
Yeah, I do think like in books 2 and 3, the girls are like popping in and out of the tower like it's a Holiday Inn Express. It's like very strange. So we could probably maybe put them in there and then take them out once.
Yeah, they get captured. They get captured again in the next book. They can combine that. There's a lot of things that they can combine. I mean, we know there's things we know that are definitely happening in season 2, just from the Q&A and from the teasers that we've gotten. And there's things that are really we're unsure about. And those are the things I'm kind of interested in more about certain characters like Rand and Matt and Min. Like, I have no idea what's going to really happen with them, like in the in-between. Like, I think we know what's going to happen in the beginning. We know what's going to happen in the end. But what's going on in between, those are the interesting things to me.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just saying I love the theories because I don't feel like I have enough information yet to be sure, but I can see, Calendar coming later down the line.
Yeah, it would make sense to me. It makes actually if you come out of Rodian with the Aiel, I think it's a better plot for later. Honestly, they've already said who the Dragon Reborn is. I mean, yes, technically Rand kind of figured that out mostly at the end of the Great Hunt, but he was still kind of like, but am I really? And he proves it in the Dragon Reborn. So I want us to jump. There's 2 really important things Rafe says in these next 2 things that talk about like where we're going to end up at the end of season 2. But he also talks about his approach in season 2 that I think does differ from his season 1 approach in a way that I think will actually make more book fans happy if they've still stuck around. So let me play this one. This one came from sorry, one second. This was from Jordan Con, I think last year. Remember, they kind of provided this this whole like 30-minute video, and Rafe, they answered some questions. They had some of the cast members, and this was the last question I think he answered, or the second to last question he answers. So, and the question is, what are you most looking forward to fans experiencing in season 2? Take a listen.
Really excited with season 2. We've tried to take a chance in this season to spend time with each of the characters individually, and I think it gives you this amazing opportunity to get more into their headspace the way you can in a book when you are reading a chapter from their POV. So I'm most excited about both book fans but also people who don't know the books as well, to be able to spend time with each of these characters, see what they're like on their own, what they feel, what they want from the world, and be able to track them through the season. Because I think when you have all of the characters moving as a group in a TV show, it can be harder to get into their interior emotional lives. So, we're doing all kinds of cool stuff, don't get me wrong, in season 2. But that's the thing that I'm most excited about is for people to just get to know them better and get to see what they really want and how they're progressing. Because when you get to the end of season 2, some of those characters feel almost unrecognizable to who they were at the start of season 1.
Like he goes like so dark in that moment. It's like he's like, and I'm so excited because when you get to the end of season 2, some of those characters are almost unrecognizable to who they were in season 1, and that was a very like ominous ending. But there's a couple things he said there, but I think it was interesting. He goes, for this season, we're gonna give everyone some time alone, like almost like from their point of view, like from the books. Do you think that was in response, or do you think this was always his plan? Do you think he kind of was like, okay, yeah, I introduced the world, but I always intended to kind of really introduce the characters individually and give you some time with them and give you this feeling that was so well developed by Robert Jordan, which is kind of getting into the mind of the character. Was this always the plan for season 2, or do you think he was kind of hearing some of the feedback also from maybe some book fans out there that were like, hey, let us know who these people are because we'd like to get into it?
I think I think that's just sort of natural. I think that you got to introduce them and then you go deeper. And I think that one of the interesting things that I hear when I hear that is that, Wheel of Time starts first as like the Rand show, and then it sort of blooms out into an ensemble. But then after book 3, we know it becomes something else, which is like all of these characters start to get their own ensemble casts. And so I feel like season 2 maybe something where we see that Perrin's going to be running around with the Shinarans. We know, unfortunately, that Egwene is at some point going to get kidnapped probably and end up
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
And then so Nynaeve is going to be probably running around with Elaine, maybe Min. Rand is off having faked his death, doing who knows what, dragony things, probably land fury things. That's what I think is going to be happening.
Yes.
Matt, I don't know. I mean, Matt's on his own. They've got to get him back to the PLOTS somehow. So they are going to be all on their own, surrounded by like sort of different people where they're the one main character in that scene, as opposed to all of them being main characters together. And I think that lets you go deeper on them specifically when they're like the focus of this thing.
Yeah. And I like... This makes me laugh. Ninja Librarian. Yes, Blair, please pander to the book fans. No, I think if this makes sense, I think it, like you said, there is a natural, we had Rand's point of view. No one, well, I shouldn't say no one. We probably would have kept reading, but if it was only Rand's point of view through the entire Wheel of Time, it would not have been a fun story.
No.
And
No.
what makes
it would
it
not
interesting,
have been what it is.
No, maybe what makes it interesting is it's not pandering to book fans. It's what book fans actually, why the series became as popular as it did, was all of the different characters that Robert Jordan put into point of view. It is a unique way that I don't know of any other author that's had this many point of view characters and this many named characters in their series.
It's out there. Like,
yeah,
I always push
uncommon,
back against
right?
the female character thing, but this is a pretty wild number of characters.
It's wild, but it's one of the things that fans do connect with because they get to know a character and be like, that's why I'm reading, and they'll skip book chapters. I think that transcends into TV just as well, right?
Oh,
we
and
all
the
have our
passion
favorite
for
kind of
minor characters.
Oh yeah, it's
like
but you think of like Marvel and you think of some of these bigger universes on in movies and TV. People show up because of the one character they connected with, and they're like, "That's the character I want to see a story about." I don't care. Maybe it's that minor character that's I'm trying to think of the guy, and he's like the FBI agent, or he's like an agent from Shield. He's like Shield agent. I can't remember his name, but everyone loves him. But in my mind, he's really minor. So yeah, it's that aspect. I think Rafe kind of saying it in that moment to fans was kind of like, to me, a nod of like, hey, we are obviously going to dig in and have you get to know these characters. And I think it hopefully will pay dividends in the sense of we went in with 8 episodes planned. We're getting now into the meat of the story with characters and getting to know the characters. I have hope at this point. I have hope for season 2 that it will actually, they're not cutting, not to cut 2 full episodes out. And so I have hope for pacing, and I have hope for, really feeling, more, I don't know, like I know the characters better than started. And honestly, you were right, Bree, when you said this. Book 1, it was just like Rand, POV. And Jordan was like, okay, I'm going to break out of this mold and actually tell the full story. And that's when the story really gets interesting. The Eye of the World is not my favorite book in the series.
So justice for Almond Bunce. So, most important character. I can't believe that they left him out of season 1.
So for you, Joe, what stood out in this kind of answer from Rafe when he talked about taking this kind of digging in, each of these characters kind of being alone on their own for a while, which does kind of hit pretty nicely with the 2 books and how they turn out. But or was that last comment that stuck out to you most?
No, I think, I was kind of wondering too if he planned on originally doing some of this in season 1 and he couldn't, so he had to cut it out and kind of move it a little bit into season 2 and get into some of the characters' heads a bit more, especially alone. But yeah, this makes sense, right? And it's not necessarily going to be an whole episode dedicated to Egwene and a whole episode dedicated to just Rand, right? I think Brie put it perfectly, like these characters get their own ensemble characters with them and their own entourages, so to speak. And like we're still going to see them together, right? Like Nynaeve and Egwene are going to be together in the beginning, and they're going to meet Elaine, and they're all going to be together, and then something's going to happen, and then Egwene's going to be by herself.
Can I turn off full book spoilers? I'm not turning off full book spoilers right now.
Yeah,
if anyone's still around, that this we're
and
not.
Everyone else is in essence already by themselves, right? Matt's seems like he's gonna be at the White Tower. I don't know if he's gonna interact with the girls. Perrin's gonna be with the Shannarans and Loyal. Rand's, I don't know, doing Rand's thing, and then Moiraine and Lan are doing something. We don't know what. We know book 2 plotline expanded and exploring I think Rafe said they're gonna be exploring relationships that they didn't explore in the book with Moiraine, which I don't know what that means. Is it her family? Maybe that's the first thing that popped into my head.
I hope so.
Yeah, that's the most obvious connection, and that to me is the biggest opportunity they have to be interesting, and it's also one of the biggest opportunities they have to like not connect. So I wish them the best of luck, because again, like that's a whole cloth kind of thing, right? Now Moiraine didn't do much in books 2 and 3, so it's kind of that. It's one of those things like. The book 1 didn't end in a way that people were like, I totally get exactly what just happened. And so Rafe was trying to take like, I'm going to make this make more sense. I don't necessarily think I agree that it made more sense than the books, but it felt as muddled to me as a book fan, not as someone that watched the show. I've talked to people that watched the show and they were like, yeah, I got it. It was fine. That aren't book fans. And they were like, yeah, it ended. It was cool. And what's happening in that season 2? I had a cousin that was like, yeah, I'm totally into it. And I'm like, oh yeah, this is definitely being a fan of the books for so long that I was just like, it was kind of, I felt the same as the end of the book 1 where it's like, I don't really know what happened, but
he wanted to give you that feeling of what the hell just happened.
Well, I just thought like, here's an opportunity.
COVID happened.
No, what I'm saying is, no, you're right. As in there were other things going on around. I just meant like he had the opportunity to kind of do what he was hoping to do. He didn't get because of maybe COVID and some things that came up. This is an opportunity to tell this, give Moiraine and Lan some interesting something to do for the next
Yeah.
2 books that
Mm-hmm.
honestly Robert Jordan didn't. You can't go in and
fact
be like,
that-
Moraine's story was so interesting in The Great Hunt. It was
You
not.
know. And I mean, they're not going to put Rosamund Pike on the sidelines, right? This is the biggest star in their show. Their A-lister. They're not going to be like, okay, we're just going to kind of put you in a scene or 2 in the second season. That's not realistic.
Okay, I gotta ask some poll questions. So let me end this one. I gotta show. Thank you very much, Miss Sarah James dropped a little tip in for the show, the channel here. 163 of you voted on will there be more book to TV changes or fewer changes in season 2 as compared to season 1. Look at you, hardcore fan freaks. You've been watching and listening to all Rafe's stuff. So 67% of you said more. Look at you're already girding your loins. Well done, people. There's no reason to believe there won't be. In fact, I think this next quote that I'm going to play talks about kind of what his hope is, basically, to catch up with the plot of The Shadow Rising. But let me first post this one from Miss Sarah James. The question that kind of goes off the screen, you can't see it right at the bottom, says, will Matt and Logain cross paths in the White Tower in season 2? Will we see Logain at all? Rafe did say he wanted to give him a better arc. Ooh, that's a great question. Joe, you first. Will Matt and Logain cross paths in the White Tower?
I'm not sure he's going to be in season 2, right? We haven't heard anything about Alvaro Morte filming in season 2, and he's hard to miss. You know, he's a huge
Do we have a
star.
Geeky Yeri in the chat? I watched Geeky Yeri's cast for season 2. I don't think that Geeky Yeri has counted out Alvaro Morte. I thought he was one that was a possibility because of where he was filming at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But if anyone in chat has any more of a read on it, or if someone wants to send Geeky Yeri a note while we're talking, and we can bring that up if he's been counted out or not. That's a great question. Until we know that, I'm going to ask this poll question, and we'll go from
I
there.
think if he's going to be in it, it's going to be like one scene. We're going to get one scene at the tower, and you're right. It would be an interaction with somebody, either the girls or Matt, I would say. But I can't see him being a big part of season 2. I don't know what he would do. Is he just going to weep and cry, or cut back to him crying in the garden every few episodes?
I mean, that's what we saw a little bit in the books, right? That wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing to show. They've been clear they want to show the impacts of these kind of things. That you need to know what the impact is. You know, when you think about Rand and other male channelers that they're finding. So
yeah, I think he could show up in a scene. I wouldn't see more than that.
Nynaeve meet Logain.
Oh,
there we go.
I want Nynaeve watching him cry. Come on, let's keep going.
I thought you meant for a different reason.
No. I mean, I just want to keep this moving here. Let's get this plot going.
That's
She said vaguely.
What's the initial feedback here? Oh, almost 100 of you almost quick voted on that one.
Fire and Spirit.
60% think that Matt is going to meet. 40% say no. Has anyone heard from Geeky Yeri alive? What's the? I don't know. Andrew's talking about chat. I'm going to send Geeky Yeri a note while we're chatting here. For you, Bree, do you think Matt and Logain are going to meet, or you don't care? You're much more interested in Nynaeve and Logain meeting.
I want Nynaeve to have to deal some more with her feelings there, but also I it's hard. Logain is my problematic fave, so I want him in season 2, and I'm not really rational about it. I don't know if there's the best story reason for him to do, but I think that one thing that he can continue to do is show what Rand has to fear. And so if he wants to pop up for an episode, get Nynaeve's sympathy going, get some horror. Egwene could use some extra horror of what could happen to Rand. Well, no, because I don't know. Do they think he's dead? We don't know.
That's a great question.
Yeah, this is a good question. Those are all good questions. I sent Geeky Yeri a note. I saw Innkeeper on us say, no Logain in season 2. I don't think Geeky Yeri has made a judgment on it, but I think she would probably bet he's not. Okay, we'll see if you're the Geeky Yeri whisperer there, my fellow Innkeeper.
I hate that feels right to me because I want there to be Logain, but
I know. Well, I want there to be Tom, but it doesn't seem like we're getting Tom in season 2 either. So
This is true from Ninja Librarian. His presence on screen is so intense. Yeah, he did a good job.
He was so good.
Okay, so I want to go back to another Rafe quote and a little video. This one actually was in Dragon Mount. We'll go back to this Dragon Mount interview, and this has to do with the idea of consolidating plots and what Rafe had to say about that. We're going to cut into half an answer that he was giving, so you won't hear the exact question, but just listen to his answer here. 1 second, everybody.
One of the big challenges we face with season 2 is it's sort of like, you know, I think you'll feel this when you watch it, is almost like we throw up some of the juggling balls at the end of season 1, where it's like, okay, here's a bunch of pieces that we've put in play. This is the foundation here. All the pieces go up. And by the end of season 2, you'll see them start to all land in places that set up the Shadow Rising. But a lot of those are taking different paths than you might have anticipated from the books, because we can't tell those 2 books sequentially. Even though I love the stories in both of them and they're really strong stories, you just structurally can't do that.
Of course. And the best part about that is...
So anything from that one, Bree, that stood out to you as far as his hope for kind of season 3 and where things are going to maybe conclude at the end of season 2?
I mean, I was happy when I heard that, because I do think of all of the books. I mean, The Shadow Rising feels like it is the most iconic book. It is the book where the series becomes what made it so great, where you start to have this like really deep lore, like, you know, and these like people going on multiple paths to have multiple amazing climactic, you know, battles. Perrin's got his stuff going on, Rand. So like it's a great season of TV. So I was like so excited about that. And so I have been like trying to backwards engineer, you know, what could happen in season 2 to get us all there, ever since I saw that quote. And I think it's, you know, and I understand what he's saying. We can't do the same arc twice in a row where everybody runs after people on a road trip and then clash in a city with a big fight that ends, you know, the same way, basically. So
yeah, I can't see 3 battles against the Shamael. I can't see it.
No.
So and he was, I think if you go back and watch that entire answer, I think he was bringing up the story of talking to Brandon about this and how, you know, they agreed that these were kind of like similar, like book 2 and book 3 are similar in many ways, especially how just the general arc of how they end. Similar, not obviously the same with the Hero with the Horn, but and then merging them, I don't think is a problem. These are 2 books make sense to merge here, in my opinion. If you were going to merge 2 books, these are good ones. He did say in his answer, you'll see them all land in places that set up the Shadow Rising. So for you, Joe, what are important pieces that we can kind of anticipate at the end of season 2 that are setups for what happens in the Shadow Rising? What is he saying then? Like, interpret this for book and non-book fans alike. What does he mean by that?
Okay, so I think there's a couple of things, right? There's got to be some sort of impetus for Rand to go to the waste, right?
Okay.
To decide to go to the waste. I think obviously they've all got to meet up again, or at least certain people got to meet up again, because one of the other fun things that I love about this story is like the team ups, right? You get like different books, you get different team ups, right? We're going to get our Rand, Matt, and Egwene team up when they go to the waste, which is like one of my favorites, like the 3 of them together. And then you get your Nynaeve, Elaine team up in Tanchico. So I think obviously there's going to be something to set up Rand needing to go to the waste. I think the horn's going to get blown at the end of the season. I'll let Donald blow. I'm on that path because I think they want to have the Horn of Valyr in play for later on towards the end of the series.
there is a season 1 thing that makes me think Matt found that Brigitte doll.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I think we've seen
I think that's your well, Donald's gonna, yeah, Barney won't, but
I think we've seen Brigitte in some sort of leaked footage.
Well,
it's not confirmed,
Amarasu,
but
is how you pronounce it? Amarasu?
Yes.
There's a hero that is slated, as in there's one of the cast that's unofficial is in the name of one of the heroes.
Oh,
so
there you go.
It feels like obvious, but we get Lanfear in the waste. Is that what I mean? Are we going to end? Are we going to end with some of that? Are we going to end with kind of basically, if you think about it, are we going to get like Forsaken hot on the trail of Rand and the group that go there. What other splits are we kind of anticipating? Are you thinking
White
like
Cloaks
basically?
and the Two Rivers.
So can I tell you my Forsaken dream?
Okay, go for it. Oh yeah, White Cloaks and the Two Rivers. Right.
Yeah, that's
my Forsaken dream is that we are going to meet people that are various scattered little baby chickens are going to run into people during the season who seem like they're just part of their ensemble, including some sexy ladies, probably at least one sexy lady for Rand. And then in the cold open of the finale episode, we see them all in the Age of Legends with the Shamael. That is my dream. Please give it to me. And we find out that all these people that we have been introduced to who we did not know were secretly ancient baddies.
I want to ask that to everybody. By the way, I'm going to end this poll. Thank you for the 140 almost of you that vote on this one. Will Matt and Logain meet in White Tower in season 2? 60%. That one held pretty strongly. But yeah, the question of Forsaken, are you speaking? Do you think a lot of Forsaken to be left? Is your dream that a lot of them are left to be unknown?
I'd like a few of them to pop out. I don't want just one. I would like, and I mean, I feel like we got that teaser that he's waking them or something. There's the lieutenant is doing his thing, waking his strongest, or maybe waking his strongest lieutenants. I don't know. So I feel like we're going to get a couple Forsaken. I don't know who. I don't know if it's too soon. I mean, Lanfear. I'm pretty sure Lanfear is popping out of a puddle of blood.
Basically, you think that maybe instead of kind of revealing who they are to us, whether or not we know Forsaken exists, you're thinking that who they showed up, who they're maybe masquerading as, will be unknown to us until maybe the end of the season. You'd like
that's my dream. Okay. Maybe not to us, but definitely to first-time watchers. I would like them to not understand that they are meeting some people who are going to be having, I want some Age of Legends Dark Friend tea. That's what I want.
Age of Legends. Now, I thought that Rafe did say he answered some question about that Age of Legends scene from season 1. And basically, I thought the answer was like, no, that was exactly right, and you're going to learn more basically about these people. I would not be surprised if we continue to go back to the Age of Legends at least once or twice a season, and it slowly reveals more and more about those relationships. That's how I would do it, right? Like that kind of whole slow TV reveal that you have for people where you're like, yeah, like these people actually knew each other, and who were friends, who was not, and how did this all shake out there while you're kind of revealing the story and how it's shaking out in the Third Age. I think is an effective way to do it, and I hope they kind of pick on that. Joe, he did say, though, in that quote that I thought was really important, he said, but not like they're going to get to those places, but not on the paths that you expect from the books. And that's going to be the interesting question for season 2. Like we said, they're going to end up in the waste. So maybe not like from the books. Do you think that's, is there anything where you go like, oh, I'm seeing how they're going to get there from a plotting perspective, not like in the books, but he's going to get them there this way. Is there anything you can think of where you theorized, this is how he's going to get us to the Shadow Rising, but it's not going to be like anything we've seen or read before?
Well, it's going to be different, I think, because it sounds like they're ending at Falm. Right. So, I mean, it doesn't really, I think, matter distance wise because they take a portal stone anyway to the waste. So they can still do that from Falm. I don't know if they're going to introduce portal stones or they'll just continue using the ways and way gates. So I think it's exactly like Bree's analogy before about the road trip. Right. He's saying the destinations are going to be the same, but, we're not going to stop at the same cities or, points of interest to get there, or we might not take the same, we might not take I-80, we'll take I don't know, 84, something like that, to get there. So I think that's exactly what he's saying. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to set everything up to go to the waste for them. There's going to have to be, like I said, there's going to be something, right? We know there's Aiel in this season, in season 2, right? Avienda's in there clearly. So there's probably going to be some sort of meeting of all of them at Falm. The Aiel are going to somehow get all the way over to Falm. And they're going to be some sort of either a dream maybe, or just the Aiel themselves saying, you've got to come to the waste, and Rand learning more about the waste and the whole Kara and the people of the dragon thing, and say, okay, this is going to be my next move. I think for the other stuff, it's fairly simple. Like the White Cloaks and Perrin, Perrin's going to have to go back because he hears his White Cloaks. Maybe there's an encounter with him and Fane says he's going to make Perrin pay for something. And, and then I guess the confusing part then is, I guess, the Nynaeve and Elaine, like, are they going to go back to the tower and then go to Tanchico? I'm not sure what's going to happen there.
Yes.
I can definitely see Egwene, especially, but also Nynaeve, not really wanting to go back to the tower after one of the Aes Sedai they're all supposed to obey picked them up and tried to sell them to Dark Friends.
Yeah.
I've always found that a little annoying. Like, I'm quite affronted on Egwene's behalf. She comes back from this traumatic experience where one of their tower Aes Sedai has like sold her off to the Shanchan, and they're all like, "How dare you run away? Do some chores." And I'm like, "What?"
Well, I think that was a cover in the.
Yes, it was a cover, but I'm still affronted. Like, get your stuff under control, there, lady.
What's interesting is he did say that, but we know the Egwene Rena scene is going to happen. Like, he said that's like.
Yeah, and we saw her in
that scene.
Teaser.
Oh yeah, we saw her.
So we know the Shanchan, like, and he also said that he's going to. Like the introducing the Aes Sedai, he's going to introduce the Aiel this season. So we know we're going to get continued world building on the Aiel. We know we're going to get it with the Shanchan, clearly. So this is going to be like a heavy Aiel, Shanchan, Aes Sedai, end up in Falma. Like, it feels very The Great Hunt, more so than the Dragon Reborn. And maybe it's just the element of Rand and maybe Perrin. And I could see that kind of a Rand with more of a Dragon Reborn arc, and Perrin more of a mixed, maybe more so, or maybe I can't remember. Do we know that Fael is in this or not? I can't remember.
I don't think she is.
I saw some leaks, and then I didn't watch them because I was like, I'm not going to cheat. I'm going to figure this out. I feel very strongly that she needs to pop up before he goes back home, because I do not think that they went through having him kill a wife during a Trolloc attack in the Two Rivers to not send him back to the Two Rivers with a girlfriend who is going to get stuck in a Trolloc attack with him. That would be like, you would have to go to writer jail to miss that opportunity. That for 1,000 years. Writer jail for 1,000 years.
I have a theory on this because I asked, so at New York Comic Con, I asked about this, and Rafe said market, because I was kind of alluding to Fael, but I didn't want to say anything and spoil anything. And Rafe stopped and said, he doesn't know about that. So I don't think if Fael's been cast, Marcus doesn't know. Like, she's either they don't meet on set, like, and they don't have any scenes together, or there's no real interaction with them in this season.
And it could be something where she pops up as he's going back home too.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Because he's not going to spend the whole season in the Two Rivers. That
season, Fael somehow ending up there or on the way back. That's an interesting kind of how he gets there, and I think that's what I'm taking. That's what I'm taking Rafe's comment to be, is like how they get to those spots. But we're going to get there, right? We've seen Emond's Field is being rebuilt, so the idea that season 3 is actually going back there makes we expect that to happen, but how he gets there, right? Why he goes, that seems like to be the thing that changed. You look at the Dark Friend social is supposed to be happening in this season. So the idea that there's going to be, obviously we know that Egwene's going to end up a prisoner of the Shanchan. So like that's happening. That plot is going to happen. And so we know that they're going to probably be searching for Dark Friends, right? There's going to be some aspect, and maybe that is just what, Egwene will go off and you'll get that kind of, like you said, Nynaeve and Elaine, and maybe even that's how season 3 introduces Tom into the story, potentially, because Geeky did point this out, for those of you that were hoping, Geeky is not going to be in, or not Geeky sorry, Tom is not going to be in season 2. So I'm getting some requests to add the full book spoilers banner up here. And just so people in chat kind of have that feeling of, if you are watching chat, I'll be more clear next time as we're talking about show and the books. Even though we might not be spoiling things for people listening and watching us, sometimes we still let chat kind of just go on a full spoiler rant as people are chatting. But we'll try to be more clear about that in the future, where we'll try to make the banners be the same for what we're talking about and how deep we might go in the books and for what chat's doing. So for anyone that was confused, sorry about that. But yeah, I when I look at I guess how they're getting us to those spots, it just feels like we're probably cutting out a lot of the Dragon Reborn. I mean, we're getting some pieces of it, but not much. Again, I think more from Rand's. I guess we're getting Rand is getting a mix potentially because we know we're going to Kyrian, and we know we have at least Lord Barthanes. So it's such an interesting
it
merge kind of
honestly
question.
makes sense to me that since they're already outside of the tower and Liandrin or some Black Sisters have just kidnapped novices to try to sell them to slavers, that perhaps Swan is just going to be like, okay, you guys go find where they are, like send them off from Falme. I could see that absolutely, like, because they're already out and they have experience and.
Well, and they would know that it's happening, right? I mean, they're gonna, and it would not surprise me if you had Liandrin. So they've talked about this. I don't have a quote on it handy, but that Liandrin's plot line is an interesting one for him, and so like he thinks that season 2 is a really good Liandrin storyline. And if you think about like the books, I don't know. I'm trying to remember the Great Hunt. It's not that interesting. But I think it could be that they're going after Liandrin, right? So it could be that it just continues from Falme. There's kind of like they're chasing down, and maybe it's something organic that they decide to do versus something that they are told to do. Does that make sense? It's less like you're going to seek them out and more something that just happens, and they're like, this needs to be uncovered, and we can't trust people. I wonder.
Yeah.
Joe, do you think that it's going to be like they're going to be sent on the mission, or do you think that it's going to be more like they discover this and they take on this challenge outside of the purview of the Amerlin?
So are we talking about after, you're talking about like going from season 2 to season 3, like getting Elaine and Nynaeve to Tenchiko? That's, I mean, you could totally see Nynaeve going after her for vengeance, right? That's totally in Nynaeve's character. But I think there's got to be some sort of approval from somebody at the tower. I don't know.
But it's something they don't even talk about, right? I mean, it was very few of them. And if you think about it, he's not going to want them to go back and forth to the tower, right?
No,
and so
I think maybe
the Amerlin can't give him. If the Amerlin gave
Swan
them
is out and about with her big fancy hat, so we don't know where she is.
Yeah,
for sure.
I was thinking about that today too.
I did think she was in Kyrian. Like that was my personal thing, going to chill with Moraine. The buildings behind her just felt very fancy to me. But I don't know where she is. She could be anywhere.
She traveled. Everyone's traveling very far to Falme.
Just going on a little trip. Who's going to stop her?
Because they can't go back. They can't go and really. I mean, they can. I just don't think that the show is going to take the time to get them back to the tower to just get this thing to be then sent away again.
And
it's honestly always been a little silly anyway. Like, let's take our babyest babies and throw them out after the most dangerous people we know. Like, maybe if they're already out and on the trail of them and have some connection, it makes more sense than taking them back and then sending them out.
I would not be surprised. Again, it's something they don't talk about. It's not like there's many Aes Sedai actually chatting about it. I don't think that the Amerlin, you don't need that aspect to create the rumors of you don't need that aspect for Elida to kind of push on the Amerlin and to push her out. So because they've already kind of built that up, right? They've already built that with Moraine. So I think you can just have them go out there and they try to track down Liandrin because Egwene has to go to the waste. So I think it's probably an eloquent. It'll be interesting to see if that's what they choose to do. But I think it's an eloquent way to not have to go back and forth.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think they need to go. They should go back to the tower. It's just interesting to find out what kind of trail of breadcrumbs are they going to lead to Tenchiko or whatever city they decide to set that in. Yeah. Are they going to capture Black Aja and Falme? Maybe is that what's going to happen? And then they're going to interrogate her and find out, like, we need to go to Tenchiko because there's stuff going on there. I mean, they could just do that, and that's part of your book 3 storyline, right in there. In book 4.
I mean, I think it's pretty easy. Once you get Liandrin, I mean, they can do something with Liandrin, right? And they can be suspicious of Liandrin, and then she betrays them, and they hear something about it, and all of a sudden, like, it opens their minds to it, and they need to go hunt her down. And Elaine would feel some kind of responsibility if Leandrin. I think for what happens it depends on how they kind of get all those people to Falma. Honestly,
I mean, I've got like one, because before I knew that Tom wasn't going to be in season 2, my theory was that Tom's job was going to be getting Matt back to the plot.
Me too.
Possibly with Bail Doman, like, let's jump on a pirate boat and go. But now that Tom's not going to be in there, I'm kind of half wondering if Leandrin's going to be like, hey, want one of these Taviran boys too? We could ship him over to Shan-Chan. I mean, it could happen.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with Matt. Like, we know, I guess in the beginning he's at the White Tower and then he's somehow going to leave, but what's he do after that? I have no idea. That'd be interesting if he goes with the girls and then gets caught up in that, or I think we're getting. Oh
man, that hurts. That hurts because I want to see him go to Rodian. Like that's.
Well, if he goes with Leandrin, I mean, I still think he can go to Rodian. I think it just that whole ambush with the Leandrin trying to pass him over just gets like 5,000 times more chaotic if Matt is there too, and so he could still do all of that. Get separated the same way Nynaeve and Min and everybody got separated, and then end up back in Falme and then pop off. I don't think they're gonna not send him to Rodian. I feel like there's too much that goes on there.
What if
in the waste?
What happens if like Leandrin gets the dagger? I don't know. Anyway, I was like, wait.
Yeah, he could. That could be. Now
I'm getting. Now I'm like, no. I want him to go.
The dagger.
I mean, if this makes sense, again, Rafe didn't specify that every single person would be in the spot, but hopefully he meant they were going to land where they're supposed to land for the Shadow Rising. So I'm going to stick to I'm hopeful that we get Matt in Rodian. Not that he couldn't go with them also to Falma. I think that has to happen. We've seen a picture of Donal Finn, I believe, on the set of Falma, so we know that Matt does go there in season 2. So, But on end this poll, will the show leave one or more Forsaken unrevealed until the end of season 2, such as Lanfear? 91% said yes. What's interesting about this is that Rafe said a change from the books to this adaptation TV. He's actually going to spend more time with the Forsaken, and now I have to remember. See if I can find. Let me see if I can find that quote, everybody.
Oh yeah.
He said, it's a Twitter answer. He said, the question was from Jared McNeil. He said, can you tell us how much you'll be expanding on the Forsaken in this season? Rafe said, it's a big point of difference from the books in season 2. We'll spend more time with any Forsaken who's in the show, more how the later books treat the Forsaken than necessarily books 2 or 3 did. Now, I agree, Bree, if you're about to say this, that doesn't mean they're going to show us who Forsaken. We might spend time with characters and not necessarily know they're Forsaken. But
we do have the melodramatic fireplace room that I cannot let go, with the like 19 fireplaces and everybody wearing masks. So I mean, there's some weird stuff going on. I mean, we had like I did like with Lesbian Nerdy, we did like a 25-minute debate on if that was the Dark Friends social or a bunch of Forsaken hanging around in the melodramatic fireplace room.
That is the Dark Friends social, 100%.
Yeah.
Where did you
probably
end? Did Lesbian Nerdy? Where was Lesbian Nerdy on that?
We kept going back and forth because the one thing I was like, is she's being awful friendly, letting all these like rando Dark Friends sit at a table with him. That's a little much equals. So that's why I was like, I don't know. Do they deserve to be sitting with him? I don't think he'd like that. But I think that we were sort of at the end of the day, like probably Dark Friend social.
Okay.
So
I'm gonna try to ask a poll here. Will the Amerlin send them to hunt Black Aja, or will they choose to do it on their own? And the options would be the Amerlin, their own, or someone else will send them.
Yeah, it could be Moraine or Verin, maybe, if Verin's there.
Yeah. I want to play this clip and then have you both react to it. This one is another piece of what's happening in season 2 that I was actually kind of surprised at, but I guess I shouldn't be, at how the season ends. So it's not a real surprise, I guess. This is from the Wheel of Time Origins panel. I want to say it's like an infamous Origins panel now, because if you go back and watch it, it's kind of sad. Because you're watching, and they're like, "And we're about to get 2 episodes of Origins, yeah!" And the whole audience like cheers, and then you're like, "They never released it." So it's just a really sad panel now when I go back and watch it. But there's this answer from Rafe that I think is interesting, and I want to talk about what more we think he's going to do with this than he did in season 1.
Really have enjoyed the Origins as a supplement, especially because of the depth of the world. And I'm wondering if you're going to use them to explore the bond, since understanding that it's clunky exposition, but is of course super important to what happens to Leia.
I can go for that. I think the truth is we even go deeper on that in the main show, Wheel of Time, in the main show, in season 2. I think it's one of the most unique elements of the Wheel of Time book series, and it's something we've always leaned into in the show, and I feel like people really respond to it. You know, being someone's warder, being someone's Aes Sedai is now becoming something people talk about, and I think that just goes to show how unique it is and how special it is. So it's something, I'd always love to see more of it in Origins, but we definitely explore it very deeply in season 2 of The Wheel of Time.
Okay, so there you go. I mean, Joe, what do you think about that? They're going to go deeper into this, and obviously you get to the end of season 1 and Land's like, doesn't he say something, I can't feel you, or I don't, whatever
she
it is.
messed the bond before
and he's like, unmask it or let me in or whatever, and she's like, I can't. Where do you think what more do you think they're going to dig into here? I mean, we have this whole idea that they're going to have their own new plot that it doesn't come from the books. How does that reflect this idea they're going to go deeper into this idea of the bond between an Aes Sedai and a warder?
Yeah, it's interesting because they do spend not a lot of time, but they do make it a point in the first season to talk about the bond, and you know, they do a whole episode basically about the bond, you know, with Stepan and Karenna surrogates for Moraine and Lan. So I'm kind of curious as to like what more is she going to go into with the bond. Like, do we need a lot of that? Do we need a lot more of that? I don't know if I agree with that. If they're going to spend a lot of time, you know, exploring the bond more, I'm not sure if I agree with that. But I don't know, you know, how they're going to present it yet, so I really can't criticize anything. But
right,
yeah, I don't know. I'm confused about that part.
Bree, any thoughts on like what they might have meant, or what he meant by we're going to go deeper into that? We're going to keep exploring that in this season and in the show itself.
I think there are reasons for upcoming events, big events that are going to happen throughout the books, that we need to know the answer to questions like what happens to a warder if his Aes Sedai gets stilled? What happens to the bond if somebody gets shielded? Can that person still, you know, feel their panic, or what happens? So I think that maybe, because like, I mean, first of all, I think that there still has been some controversy over whether or not she is shielded or stilled.
Okay, hold on. Let's ask her. What is the? Yeah. So, are there other options here we should be asking? Let me end this other poll. This is a good one. We have to have this conversation. Will the Amerlin send them to hunt Black Aja, or will they choose to do it on their own? The Amerlin 49%, their own 27%, and someone else will send them 24%. So, still people kind of tied to the idea that the Amerlin will be the one to kick it off, which makes sense because that's what we're most familiar with. But okay, this question of the end of season 1: what did Ishamael shield Moraine? And we're gonna say yes, she was shielded. Mm-hmm. No, she was stilled. Is there a third option here? Is there anything else that you would say happened to her?
I think the difference with that we didn't know about is that it's a tied off shield, right? That's something that wasn't introduced in when we learned about shielding in episode 4.
It was like inverted or something, tied off and inverted, so you can't like see it or sense it was just there.
Yeah, maybe it's inverted, but I mean, no one could sense it anyway because it's a male channeler shielding.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't even matter. I guess the female channelers can kind of sense something's there. But I think that's the difference, that you're going to be like, oh, it's tied off, and that's going to explain.
Yeah, I think that new watchers who aren't familiar with the show may not know. But I am definitely team she was shielded. You know, he shielded her and tied it off, and I'm on team Lesbi Nerdy's. First thing we see Swan doing is untying knots. So get over here, Swan, and untie these knots. You can untie knots that you can't see.
Mm-hmm. You think what would be really cool about that is I like the idea that just like Nynaeve tries to heal, gentling, the idea that Swan would attempt to, and maybe maybe attempts to, but can't, and that, but going back to this idea of the Aes Sedai bond and what they could go deeper. I like what you said, Bree. We need to know, like, what is it like to actually have an individual be stilled? We've seen that, like what happens to the warder.
Yeah, Rand kills some warders in Lord of Chaos by stilling their Aes Sedai when he breaks that shield. So that's the sort of thing where, and Alana has bonded him at this point too. So like, I do feel like there's a lot of stuff that goes on, and these bonds get pretty bonkers as the books continue. And we have multiple bonds and people bonding together and people who can't even channel bonding other people. And now we've got like 19 people in Rand's head. So I do think that establishing the rules for bonding is going to matter later on when the bonding gets banana pants.
Yeah. Well, and they've changed some of the metaphysics here, right? This whole idea that he can't. Maybe they've tried to say they've done it a different way. Like it's a special form of whatever was done that also has the consequence of affecting the bond to the way that it was shielded. You know what I mean? Like they don't have to have changed it, but they certainly appear to have changed this idea where Lan's like, I can't sense you because you've been shielded. That's not a.
Well, here's the thing. She had masked the bond before he was shielded. Yeah. Maybe she can't unmask it because we found out that Min could not mask and unmask the bond during the inappropriate sexy times when Avienda and Elaine could mask the bond, but Min just had to, Avienda and... No, just Avienda could mask it.
I don't think there's. I mean, I'd have to go back and look. I don't think there's a situation where they did this exact. We have the exact kind of thing where.
But there was an implication that channeling people who channel can mask the bond and people who can't channel cannot. So I don't know. I mean, you could make that argument to me that metaphysically, once Moraine can't channel anymore, she can't unmask it.
That's what I mean. Is I think they're making a case for the idea. I don't know that it's supported by the books. I don't think it's supported by the books, but I think they're making a case. As in, I'm trying to say, I don't know that they're saying this is what would happen if someone was shielded. You wouldn't be able to sense their warder. They're saying in the case of you've masked them, and whatever he did in shielding her, whatever special way that she was shielded, that's a consequence of what's happening. And so I think that maybe they're tackling this idea of, is the bond between Aes Sedai and warder just the bond itself? In other words, what makes an Aes Sedai and warder? Does the bond bring them together? Does it break? Is that the only thing that's holding these two people together? And so maybe that's what they mean by kind of examining the bond between Aes Sedai and warder when they can't sense each other, like
without the actual the one power involved.
Yeah, like take away the metaphysical connection. Now. Right, exactly. Like, and maybe that's what they're talking about, like delving deeper into this idea of what do these people mean to each other if that connection basically doesn't exist. And so maybe he
could walk away and there's a wisdom who might want him to.
Well, yeah, exactly. Well, because Rosamund said that they were filming a scene about trust, right? And so is it whether or not she can trust Lan if she doesn't know what he's feeling, and can she trust him if she can't basically kind of make him go places, or like there's not that connection any longer. And so it's an interesting way to kind of tackle something that's not it's a broken bond, basically. Like it's a severed bond, but not with the consequences. I don't know, it's a really weird it
is interesting because the only plot they really have in The Great Hunt is Moraine kind of betraying his trust by being like, okay, I set up the UPS forwarding, no, you don't get to veto. Sorry.
I love, trust falls. Yes, exactly. No, that's a good way to, yes. The opposite maybe question. Well, no, that's a good thing to pick up from the books, which is Moraine was sensing this idea that maybe she could not trust Lan in the books as much as she had before. And she didn't want him to ruin her plans, if you will, or she knew how to handle their future plans if she were to die. And so she was going to set this up. And in this way, she's lost that option. But that kind of questionable trust thing is happening that we see in the books, just in a different way. So I don't know. Joe, do you like this idea that it's maybe this is what they're examining with the bond itself?
Yeah, so I think bond forwarding, Bree, I love that. I think
forwarding.
bond forwarding is something that's probably going to come up in this, and they set it up right. I mean, in the first season, right, like that with the whole Stepan and Karenna.
Yeah.
So they're setting up that that Maureen wants to make arrangements, for if she should die, that her bond, and she sees that Lan and Nynaeve obviously have feelings for each other, but I also like the idea of the trust, right? But one of the things I think that they could have explored and they didn't was the like Rand and Lan kind of becoming close, which you don't get any of that in season 1 whatsoever. Lan looks like he hates Rand with a passion, and as the story progresses in books 2 and 3, like, or even in book 1 a little bit, you get it, like Lance kind of takes Rand under his wing a little bit, and maybe you could have put that in the story, and then you could have gotten like maybe Moiraine's getting a little bit like feeling that Lan's getting a little too close with Rand and a little too sympathetic for him, and Moiraine sees him more as a tool.
I do actually think we're going to get that.
I thought that's what
in
I thought
season
he
2.
said. I thought that Daniel Henney said something to the effect of like we would see.
That's my theory is that Lan and Moiraine and Rand are kind of rolling around Kyrian together at some point.
Yeah,
well,
that's what it looks like.
We've definitely seen them together, but I think it's an interesting point you're making, Joe, which is maybe the absence of that bond, and there's some distance created between Lan and Moiraine, and maybe in that distance he is becoming closer to Rand.
Yeah.
Because maybe he was taking on some of that mission that she had about Rand, and without that kind of bond maybe passing through that, her feelings and desires in that way, if you will, he's connecting more with Rand.
Yeah,
than
he's got
he would
empathy.
have.
He knows
that's
what
interesting.
it's like to be pulled around by Moiraine. He's been doing it for 20 years. So he's
and we
feeling
also
like,
have to face she just kind of goofed. I mean, she has been dragging Lan with pure confidence, like that first episode where she's like, nope, it's not him. And Lan's like, are we going to talk about this? She's like, no, let's go. I mean, she's full speed ahead, and she ran them right into a wall.
Well, yeah, and she and Swan, right? That's what the show did in season 1. I thought was really interesting. Was it, as much as it was flawed in book 1, that we just don't accept that, like, oh yeah, this was flawed logic. It's just like, we're going to run up to the eye of the world and just make the end of the world happen, and you'll figure it out, They do that same thing, but they actually connect it with Swan and how they've both been on this journey, and they've been blinded a bit by kind of this thing that they feel so passionate about, this mission that they have. And Lan, and now it's questionable, right? Lan has to look at this outcome and be like, this is the outcome we wanted. We've completely made a huge mistake here, and so I could see that kind of trust becoming a question. I love the idea of maybe him connecting with Rand over this absence of it. Yeah, it's
also like
it's good.
One thing I would like to point out. The first thing we hear Moiraine say in the first episode is that the Aes Sedai had to pick up the pieces after the men, right?
Oh, yeah.
What does Lan have to come and do in the literally next to last scene we see? They are literally picking up the pieces of that seal.
Yep.
So Lan's maybe got some cleanup duty here. And I think that could be a really good way for him to start to bond with Rand.
Yep.
Once he finds out that he's alive. I think a little death faking is on brand for Rand.
Yeah, it is. Well, yeah, that's an interesting part too, is they fast forwarded him into this, like, just the end of the Great Hunt, right? He kind of just leaves. And they've kind of given us that, like, he just leaves and he's going to do Rand stuff in the Dragon Reborn. If we don't, I will tell you this, I will be so maybe let's talk a little bit of dreams. Like, you brought this up, Bree, you had kind of some dreams. One of my dreams is I need the kind of Rand being hounded in his dreams and in the real world by people chasing him when he's on his own. And I need him, like, confronting them and just, like, having those, like, crazy Rand moments where he's basically, like, he feels like everyone's out to get him. And so he's, like, murdering dark friends, or who he thinks are dark friends, on his path to wherever he's going. It's hard to do, I think, because he doesn't really had much training in, like, anything at this point. So I kind of wonder if they're going to give us that scene, but I really want that kind of Rand losing it in this season before we get to Rodian. Like I feel like I need some of those Dragon Reborn, early Dragon Reborn scenes. I need so. Yeah, I guess we'll find out if we're getting them. I don't know.
Even the I mean, I don't know if they're going to put this in this season or if it's going to be in at all or next season. Is when at the beginning of the Shadow Rising, when the Trollocs attack the stone and Rand's trying to revive the dead girl, like when he kills all the Trollocs, and then that's a little unhinged Rand as well. There's a lot of those moments in the next couple of books that I'm kind of interested to see what they're going to put in there and use. No, they're all great moments, like character moments.
You could have unhinged Rand come out of Rodian. That's true. I'm okay with that. It won't be unhinged necessarily by himself, right? Like the time you're going to get him alone unhinged is in this season, and I don't think you're going to get him alone unhinged in other seasons as well as you.
Yeah.
So
no, I mean he does not look in totally mentally well here in these screen caps that we've gotten. No. Also, I mean, I found the shaved head like especially interesting because like, he cut off the one thing that people keep pointing to like remind him that he's not Tam's son. He's like in a dark spiral.
Well, that's interesting. I hadn't thought about the rationale other than just hiding itself.
But it may not be why he did it, but that's the first thing I thought. They keep saying, hey, you're Aiel. And I mean, he has to hear, you're not Tam's son. You're not Tam's son.
Well, and he's going to Kyrian. So like that might be not a connection that he wants people to make either. Like maybe they're starting making it a lot more, and he's like, okay, this isn't good. I'm going to end this poll. Did a Shamael shield Moraine? 92% said yes. Not shocked by that one. I would be shocked if it turned out to not be that one. That's for sure. For you, now I want to show this last clip. I know we're already kind of over our time that we gave for this, but I want to show this last clip, and then I want to get kind of look. We were never going to cover every single plot or theory. I hope you all enjoyed kind of examining themes and talking about themes and talking kind of overall story adaptation. We'll have to dig back into more kind of plot-related theories of how this is all going to work out. But I thought all those things from Rafe were really interesting. And this thing is so cool from someone you all know. Well, hopefully all of you have followed this person on YouTube. Geeky Yeri, you should. You hear her voice there. Geeky Yeri does amazing investigative work, if you will.
Geeky Yeri is the CIA.
Yes.
Wheel of Time
exactly.
CIA.
So you got to go watch this video on Geeky Yeri's channel. Ask for it. I'm sure our mods in chat will post this. And we're not going to watch this whole thing, but you can see like Geeky Yeri confirms. I love it with asterisk. Officially acknowledged, more or less, by production. More or less. I love that. Returning from season 1, so we can kind of get a feel for who's returning, everyone here. I can't wait till we get more Liana from Jennifer Chion Garcia. Like I don't feel like we got much at all. We've heard there's going to be much more of a relationship. We're going to see more of Alana and her warders. It looks like Guy Roberts is alive. People that were concerned about that. We saw Kai Alexander as Min, and posted actually like an image today, and maybe I'll share that from Twitter. So it looks like they're back. I don't know if that's a new one. I'm assuming it's a new one. So they're prepping for production for season 3.
I think it was hashtag season 2. So
was it hashtag season 2?
I think it was. Yeah.
Okay.
So I think it's an old picture.
It's an old picture. So this is more of our new cast here, confirmed for new to season 2. Everybody. Donald Finn as Matt Cawthon. We have Massima. We have Ingtar, Elaine, Avienda. Natasha O'Keefe is unknown. The actual isn't Mira Sial. Oh, we don't know Mira Sial yet, do we? No. We know who comes in later here. I'll mention that. And Zalia, we don't know who they're playing either. So, but these are some new individuals that we do know are coming in, which is a lot of fun. Returning.
We know Zelia is a recurring character. It was set.
Zelia is a recurring character. Okay. Yeah.
Ooh, interesting.
Alexander, we know that apparently, or unconfirmed, likely returning season 1 cast spotted in Prague. There we go. Alvaro Muerte. Oh, I forgot to mention, Geeky Yeri did get back to me and said the answer was the latest is still possible as far as Geeky Yeri knows, but not confirmed. So still in this unconfirmed. And Luce there and Telemon, kind of someone we believe, of course, would come in to. And then we have unconfirmed cast members. You should go listen to Geeky Yeri talk about this. This is awesome. Asan Sander. Do you remember who this is? What this is? I had to look it up. Do you remember where this is? Oh, great. Now I'm like, okay. Now I said I looked it up, and now I'm like,
is he one of the? Is he the one of the soldiers in Kyrian, like one of the guardsmen?
Yep, the Kyrian guard who takes Rand Loyal and Huron's name at the city gate in the Great Hunt. So that's one of those like kind of like wink, wink. We're going to Kyrian. We already know. I mean, it could be somewhere else, of course, but Elias is definitely in this. A lot of High Lord Turok, Brian, which I still think is great. Brian, I want to know Bail Domon. Oh my gosh, I mean, everyone was so worried that Bail was not in season 1. I'll be really interested. Obviously, with the Sean Chan, I'm really hoping we get that. Oh, I want to see that Aegianan and Bail Domon in this. We even have, like I said, Barthena's Min's aunts. We have 2 of them here. So that'll be interesting on how they come in.
Barthanas I find extremely unnecessary. I'm not sure what's going on with this. He's young and hot. I'm very confused.
He's supposed to be like Maureen's uncle, right? He's way too young to be her uncle.
This is my
like noble families.
Layman's Sin cold open. I'm hoping. I'm just gonna keep clinging to that.
And then we get here's another grouping. This is Rima Te Wayada, and this is Sheriam. Yeah, Sheriam is on screen right now, everybody. So we have Sheriam is going to be in here. So suspected cast members, we don't know who they might be playing. With even more, Karima McAdams, we believe could be Lady Suroth. That is one of the ideas of who Karima, definitely with the Sean Chan, that much is obvious from what we've seen. And who is this right here? We have probably returning based off of guesses from the books. So this is not any data, but possibly returning Michael McElhatton, Abdul Salis. It'd be crazy if we don't see Eamon Valda. That would be insane. And Gia from Bornhall, just because of what the role that the White Cloaks play. I think that's obvious. And Michael McElhatton, I want to talk about this one really quick. Bree, do you think that we'll get a Tam Althor showing up at the White Tower? Or do you think they'll just give us Tam Althor back in Emmons Field and give us some shots back in Emmons Field? Maybe.
I mean, I want more Tam. I think that like, he's just so good. He is so good. And I mean, it would be cool to have him pop up at the tower. I mean, and this is the thing. We've definitely got an interesting situation because I don't think Abel Cawthon's coming with him in the show. Probably not. So it could be, but he's the sort of, worldly guy who might
I can see a dream happening, maybe a dream, or like maybe in 90s
Rand Nightmares.
You could do a dream or the Terangriel testing, some of the accepted tests. Let me ask everybody here, will we see Tam in some capacity in season 2? Let's see what the hope is in the chat. I feel like you could do that without having to necessarily go back to the village in real time, if you will. These are some interesting ones too, known but actor currently unknown. So Varen, Celine, Hopper, Rena, and Amarasu are all in this season, which is kind of what we'd expect, right? So many new characters coming into the show. Really, really fascinated to see how they're going to actually bring them all to us. That's really the question here. And this is a shot you can see of them all. The cast as of October 19th, 2022. Check them all out. There you go. This is some familiar faces, a lot of new faces here, and can't wait to see what they're going to bring us. I'm starting to get ready. Like I was feeling that first quarter of the year. I'm like, I don't know. I haven't heard anything, but now it's got to happen this year, right? That's what we believe. So
Rafe said 2023. He confirmed.
It's got to be here. It's got to come up. So. Okay, with that being said, you've seen the cast, you've seen the names. We've talked a bit about, the fact that Rafe's trying to point it to end where people are landing in the Shadow Rising, but they're going to get there in different ways. We're going to save some elements from from the books, from Great Hunt and Dragon Reborn for later potentially. So that's, and we know kind of where some of the focuses from a thematic standpoint and adaptation standpoint are coming for season 2. So I'm pretty excited. Like, Joe, where are you at? Like, when you think about what we've just covered and the things from other comments that have been made about season 2, remind me where you ended with season 1. What was your kind of final out of 10, I know it's pretty generic, but out of 10, where did you finally land?
Oh, it's funny because we're doing a rewatch right now on our podcast, and we just finished episode 6, and we're actually scoring the episodes because we did that initially.
Yeah.
And right now, I think we're doing it out of 5 stars at the first 6 episodes. I'm averaging about a 3.5 ish. And I don't think it's going to get any better than that with the last 2 episodes, but it might drop a little bit. But that's where I was.
So like a 7 out of 10 if you did a
I'd say that's about fair. 7 out of 10. I think I have much higher expectations for season 2 because there's no COVID. They don't have to rewrite an actor leaving. And they're taking a much more, like, they have the time, right? They're spending more time, I think, with the post-production, right? Rafe said that we're getting the weaving is getting a makeover. We're getting colors in there, and
that's right. We're going to get
a bit more weaving.
And I wonder if we're going to get even a makeover of more than the colors. I think we focused on the colors, but he said basically, I thought they upgraded it, if you will.
Yeah, I think he said weaving. So he said the threads and colors and bears oh my. Minus the bears or something like
threads
that.
And colors. So yeah, I kind of wondered if it was a little bit more of the weaving, if you will.
So I think it's going to be better. I think it's going to be a little more cohesive. Also, like Rafe said, he knew he was getting 8 episodes for this season. So I think it's written more for the 8 episodes, and they're going to be longer episodes. He said the average episode is going to be a little bit longer than it was in season 1. So I have very high hopes for season 2.
He did point out something in a quote about when they started filming season 2, right after episodes 107 and 108, that there was something unexpected that happened, but that there's always unexpected things that happen. So that'll be an interesting thing to find out if there's a change to like how they were anticipating doing it, right? Like, these are 8 episodes. This is where and what that change was and how they handled that. Maybe we'll never find out. Maybe those are the kind of things they don't want us to know because we're not focused on what we missed out. Just like when we find out about like how they were going to do a cold open in season 1 that I think focused on Guitar Amoroso, I think, or like, I thought, and then it was like, no, we didn't get that. We got something else. Or there was also like another idea. I get not wanting to kind of talk about those in detail because you're like, people get stuck on what they didn't get, if that makes sense.
He inferred too that it's very common until like if somebody says they never had to like change something because something happened in a TV show, that they're lying. Yeah, like it's very common. It didn't sound like it was anything huge. Maybe it was like actor scheduling and they had to rearrange stuff because of
and longer episodes, hopefully like more than an hour. Hopefully longer episodes isn't like just 30 seconds. So you were at about a 7. Where are you at from a kind of hope for season 2? It sounds like you're coming out of this kind of like positively, like, you see some room for growth, and it sounds like things are kind of more baked in this time with what we know we can do and what we're going to get.
Yeah, I 100%. I expect it to be better, for sure, and I think it is going to be better. I'm pretty confident that it's going to be better than season 1.
Cool. Okay, Bree, where were you at the season 1? How did you feel when it ended? If you looked back, I know, like I said, kind of generic out of that 10 is the best, but where did you kind of, if you had to nail down kind of like,
it's hard for me because like the first thing you have to do is like, I've been waiting my whole life to watch a fantasy show where women are just like degraded and miserable and like just constantly like violated. So like I feel like you gave me that and Moraine and Swan Kissed. I'm like at a 17 out of 10 there. Because like I got to watch a show that didn't hurt my soul. Like it's hard to be unbiased about it, like because it was just so much what I needed to have in my life. This is like the fantasy show of my dreams right here. And I also am just incapable as a creator of holding the fact that like everything went wrong and them in the past 2 episodes against them. Like, what did I want them to do? Like hold Barney Harris at gunpoint and make him like finish the season, you know? Like it wasn't possible to give me the finale I wanted. So I don't blame them for it. I think it was a little bit messy and it definitely, it definitely could have been better. But on the whole, I think that like as a springboard to a series, this like it was beyond my expectations. Even the plot points I didn't love, I feel like they gave us enough setup and enough world and enough care of the world and so much foreshadowing. I mean, that shows that they are thinking about things like we are full book spoilers. I'm talking about things like lingering on Egwene during the story of Eldrine drawing in too much power. Things like Tam's speech about, how the wheel keeps turning, and they linger on Rand when he's talking about how heartbreak, and he's on Matt when you're talking about dying, and on Egwene when you're talking about pain. So many tiny, tiny details you see in rewatch that just the whole show is right there. The whole series. They love the series, and so I'm super excited. Please, no more natural disasters. Let's avoid pandemics. Like, nobody release the AI robots. Let's just
that's too late.
Let them get this season
They've been released. So no, you're bringing up some important points, which is, and he brings up this talk about Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones, and this was always going to be something separate, right? It was never going to be, right? He's like, this is an adult show, but we're not doing the Game of Thrones nudity aspects of this, right? And the themes in this show that other shows are trying to, or themes in this books that other shows are trying to run towards, we're already there, right? You don't need to create the theme. It's already there, and it just needs to be kind of brought to life. So I would agree with you in that sense. If I had to hold them to, it was all their responsibility for the ending. I would definitely still be in that 6 to 7 range of, I thought it didn't land, right? It did not land as I wanted it to. And that's where at the very beginning of it, I have a problem with the first 30 minutes and the ending of it. And so those are, but I want to believe that, like Rafe said, they came in with 10 episodes and they only got 8, and the edits were just,
when I heard that 2,000 notes thing, or 10,000, or however, I don't know however many notes, I blacked out, and I don't want to think about it ever again.
Well, it's if you think of just some of the deleted scenes they've shown us, like the scene between Tam and Egwene, and you're just like, these are some of the interesting kind of character moments we wanted. We wanted to kind of get to know these people, and the amount of I think Rafe has said I thought he said to everybody there's a lot of deleted scenes, scenes from season 1, and I was hoping we'd get some in between seasons, but we didn't really see much. But them going in with 8 episodes and knowing it, I'm really hopeful that some of those kind of pacing concerns and problems, and then how it begins and ends without the pandemic, that they really land their beginning and ending. And because I thought during the middle, I liked the story, right? And so it's the beginning and ending that really affected kind of how I finally rated it. So I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful from what we've seen so far with the material and where they're going, that they're going to bring us something that I'll be even, that I'll actually like more than season 1, because I'd rather see it kind of go up from there. And I've said this many, many times. If you judged The Wheel of Time only on book 1, you would not be like, Robert Jordan did not land the ending on book 1. But he did in book 2 and book 3. That is to say, sure, repetitive, but I felt I love those 2 books. I like The Eye of the World. Obviously, it's the beginning of this journey, but I loved those 2 books. So I'm hopeful that Rafe and his team can land this one. So
there are some iconic scenes in there too, like the accepted testing. I really hope we get to see Nynaeve, especially, but also Egwene's accepted testing. Matt's staff fight isn't my favorite, but I know it's huge and iconic, and I feel like we're going to get some variation of that. There's so many landmarks that I think he's going to be able to hit that are going to feel so good for readers. That even if a lot of stuff changes, I do think we've got some absolutely, because that is one thing the series is so good at, an absolutely iconic moment that just you can see in your head already.
Well, Egwene Renna, oh my gosh, even that little kind of teaser trailer they gave us, I was like, oh yeah, this is going to be brutal. This is going to be brutal. And Rand is sitting on the bed again. They did some really good iconic shots, in my opinion, already in the teaser trailer, where I go, okay, if you build into that shot as well as I think you should be able to, and him walking down with that, he's in the coat, he's got this red coat on, right, as he's walking through what looked like the streets of Kyrian with the doesn't he have the torch? Yeah. And I was like, there's, and then seeing the White Cloaks kind of going into the Shanchan, Dordral, right? They use some iconic shots where you're like, okay, those are already 4, 5, 6 landmarks that I'm excited to see actually happen in the shows. And that's what we got in the first kind of, not even a teaser trailer, right? It was like just showing us, So I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful, everybody. And with that question, will we see Tam, by the way, in some capacity in season 2? Just about 60% say yes. Okay, it's still kind of up for some doubt there. I want to ask this one: are you more hopeful for season 2 over season 1? And yeah, like I said, we didn't cover all the theories, the possible theories that there are. We'll continue that conversation. It's like 2 hours. We got a lot of details and weren't able to kind of break it into too many theories at this point. We got some fun ideas kicking around. I'm taking the one. I'm owning this one, everybody. I'm owning the idea that the Amerlin doesn't give them the Black Aja kind of hunt, that it's something they pick up in the midst of things that are happening to the group. It's a fun one to just kind of own and see what happens in season 2. There's and how that might kind of flow through to the very end. So, okay, everybody, that is it. I should show him. Should I show him that Miro board? I should show him that, shouldn't I? We'll do that really quick, everybody. This is fun. We'll do a show on this someday. It's kind of hard to see what this is. But this was a breakdown of what we thought a long time ago, season 1. It was like before the season 1 came out, using some of the trailers, I think. I'm not sure. We didn't know episodes 7 or 8 in season 1. And I can't remember if this was also me, Rebecca, and What Up that did this one. We thought Young Swan might show up in episode 8. We were wrong about that. The Steam Bath, what did we have that one? Episode 6. I don't know.
That's right.
There we go. Do you remember who we did this? Did we do this together, Joe? Were you?
No, I wasn't. But I mean, I'm assuming you probably based this off of some of Geeky Harry's videos, though.
I don't remember like when we did this one. I need to go back and find out. But we did a second one, and this one I did with What Up and Rebecca from Reading the Pattern. And if you go back and listen to the Barside Chats episode, you can hear us for like 3 hours talking all about how we got to this. And yeah, this is, we left Steve as introduced out. Oh, these are the ones we were like, we don't think we never put the torture wheel in. That's just kind of sad.
Oh yeah.
We meet Taim, introduction to Kalendor. These are all the things we just took from the books and we're like, and things we saw in the first teaser trailer. Rand follows, Ashamael the Tear, Fail introduced. We left that out. But anyways, this was kind of what we came up with, and we'll have to cover that someday. Oh yeah, I think we must have seen like, there must have been a trailer out because we're like, oh, okay, so does this happen at this time?
Yeah.
We knew a lot more to put this one together. Anyways, this was a fun Miro board that we did one time. We'll come back to it, everybody. That was a blast. Okay. Any other final goodbye thoughts you want to give, Joe, before we end tonight?
Oh, there's a lot. If I start talking, we'll just go on another 20 minutes. So
we need to do more of these. We are going to be doing more of these. Not next week, though. And for those of you that are going to JordanCon, I'll see you there. Please come up and say hi. Mm-hmm. I think I'm easy to talk to. And I will try to come say hi to you. I'm sometimes also socially awkward and don't want to like intrude on people's spaces. So, but please do just come introduce yourself, say hi. I will try to also. But yeah, many more of these kind of episodes coming. Bree, as always, I love the theorizing that you bring to this. Really loved the opinions you shared early on. You gave us some hashtags to remember early in the show today. So as always, you are coming back for the cold open show. We have to do either a breakdown of, I want to know where you're at after the teaser, after we get maybe the teaser trailer. We have to do what are the cold opens going to be? Oh, I think you might be muted. Yeah, I think you might be muted there.
Yeah, sorry.
There you go. No,
yes.
What were you saying?
I was saying I saw you had a Hawkwing flashback on there. That's definitely on my list.
Oh yeah, we did. You're right.
So,
we had like Dark Friend Social by Bail Domon in season 2, Layman's Sin flashback, Moraine's childhood, Lan Moraine at the pond, Hawkwing flashback, Age Legends flashback, and Eye of the World.
And
prologue.
This is actually, I asked Rafe this on Twitter, and he did answer me. Like I asked if they were going to keep doing the cold opens, and he said
yes,
that the cold opens are their homage basically to those like random point of views and prologues that we would get where we just get these like totally out of context characters. And I love that because I think that, I think they're going to be so cool. And I think we're going to get one with Hawkwing sending his kid off across the ocean with focus on the
can you imagine?
flag,
Oh wow.
and then zooming back in the present day is like the Shan-Chan come with that flag. That's what I think we're gonna get, something like that.
I'm getting all sorts of messages in chat about Geeky Aries here. Hold on 1 second. Let me end this poll. Are we hopeful? Are you more hopeful for season 2 over season 1? 92% of 100 of you said yes. Okay, cool. Sorry, Joe. What were you saying?
I was going to say pencil in a possible Pad and Fane cold open.
Ooh, a Pad and Fane cold open. Okay. I like it. Where did I miss Geeky Aries comment, everybody? Oh, the Still of Matt is from episode 6. Is that the comment we're talking about?
And there she says the Still of Elaine is from episode 4.
The Still of Matt, Geeky Aries, if you're hearing this, the Still of Matt, is this the one we're talking about that is he like in Falma? Is that what the Still of Matt? Which one are we talking about?
They did release 2 stills because she says something about the Elaine one right up above that, and they had an Elaine one with the lantern and the Matt one, and so maybe that's what she's talking about. That's interesting. Elaine in episode 4 with the lantern.
4 with the lantern. I mean, the lantern has to be.
That could be them leaving the tower, possibly.
Episode 4 would make sense for them to leave in episode 4.
That's a great time to get her kidnapped.
Mm-hmm.
Episode 4, great time for a big betrayal.
I love when people in chat are like, "Hey, you're missing something." I know.
There's a lot of things we missed.
And one last reminder: come back next week, everybody, for season 3. That's right, season 3 premiere of Wheel of Time Idol. We need your votes, and come and see the ridiculous creativity that has been happening among fandom. And this is that song contest that we do, and it's really just a celebration of our shared geekery when it comes to these books. Just come listen to some Wheel of Time parodies. They're always amazing. I love that. So make sure you're here. For those of you asking, JordanCon is in Atlanta. I think tickets are no longer on sale, and it's April 20 what? Someone give 20th? Me the number there.
21st,
I think. April 21st. So I'm looking forward to seeing you there. And I will also be at WatCon. If you can't make it to JordanCon, I'd love to meet you there also. So, and hopefully we'll have more, if not a season by then. Oh yeah, that was the last question I was going to ask our audience, and then we'll let you get out of here. We'll end on this one. Will Amazon release something at JordanCon? How about that? Yes or no? Okay.
Yes.
Awesome. Did I miss any more comments, important things? Are you calling me out in chat? Oh, I did, everybody. You're right. I'm surprised no one reminded me of it. There is a giveaway. I should do that, and we will chat while we do a giveaway here. Let me start the giveaway. Taylor got this ready before he had to leave. So Dusty Wheel, I think we changed this to like Dusty Swag, maybe, is the new one we did. So let me make sure I do the right one. Yes, I think we'll just say Dusty Swag is the right giveaway. Okay, let me see if this shows up in chat. It did. Excellent. Only enter once when you've seen this. You've already seen it show up in chat. You're just going to hear me talk about it 20 seconds later. Once people start entering it, I'll make sure that I do see that showing up. I do. I see everyone's names. Basically, what this is, I call the Dusty Swag giveaway now. The way that my Zazzle account is set up and my shipping options, I'm not allowed to use it to drop ship. They sent me a note and said, no more drop shipping. Because of that, I've started giving out $25 gift certificates to the winner, and they can just go and use it at their own time and leisure and order themselves something. Yes, that means you'll have to pay for your own shipping. So I recommend that you do wait for a sale. So that's what I did. I waited for like a 40% sale because I had to pay for shipping cost too. So wait for a sale if you win this. I will. And this is a lot easier for me to send out an email with a gift certificate. My fellow Innkeeper on us, he is still sending out mugs, I think. So with his Zazzle account, he's able to get those to people.
Was that Zazzle Black? Did they lock you down?
Well, yes, because I had Zazzle Black, and then it doesn't allow me to choose to pay for shipping. Does that make sense? Because I have Zazzle Black, I can't tell them I just want to pay for shipping. And since I can't tell them I want to pay for shipping, I can't use Zazzle Black to do it. It's a mess. It's annoying. So I
do the same thing. I'm like drop shipping over there.
I know, but it's because I tried to drop ship like 70, 80 things in one day, and they were upset. I'm like, this is so dumb because
you mean it's not worth your $9?
You're going to send it to my location, or you're going to send it to somebody else in the U.S. It doesn't make any sense to me, but whatever. it is what it is. I'll send you a gift certificate. Let's see who wins here. But thank you very much, everyone, for being here. This has been a blast talking about the show. And next week, like I said, we're back with Wheel of Time Idol. And you'll hear more about the following week, what episode we have right before JordanCon happens. Yeah, it's going to be Zazzle Black Aja. I love it. Yeah. Has everyone gotten in the raffle that wanted to join it? I see 55 of you have entered. I'll give you one more minute. When you hear this, it's really only 40 seconds. So until as that 1 minute ticks down, Joe, give me your favorite season 2 theory before I close out this raffle.
Oh wow, this is interesting. Okay, so I think that I'm very confused as to Rand's path, because I thought he was going straight to Falm, but then we think him and Moraine and Lan are going to be Kyrian together, so I'm not sure what's going to go on with that. But I think that Matt is going, right, he's in the tower, he's captured, he's been picked up by the Red Aja. He escapes with the help of, I guess, Egwene and Elaine, similar to like he does in the books, but where does he go? What's his path? I know Moraine made a point to say in season 1 that she's broken his connection to the dagger, but there's still a darkness in him. I think that he's gonna go after the dagger regardless of him being severed from the dagger. But I don't think that means that he's not 100% healed from the dagger.
So I'm going to add to your theory, because don't we know you saw the scene, didn't you, where weren't you there? Leandrin's talking to Matt, right?
Yes.
Well, if we know that Matt does make it to Falma, and we know that he's kind of imprisoned there, what if it's Leandrin that lets him out, but only if like he goes, like, you know what I mean? Like they're like, Leandrin's like, we got to go. And like, we're not going to leave Matt. And then like Leandrin gets Matt out. And Matt goes with them up to Falma. That's a possible variation.
I think
of that, right?
he leaves to escape Leandrin, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Because she probably is trying to play him first, and then he escapes, and then she goes after Egwene and Nynaeve.
Okay. Yeah, and that's possible too, that he's following them to try to help. That would be a Matt thing that he would do. Bree, what's your favorite season 2 theory that you're walking away with? That's yours.
I am pulling for Damodred Dracan family drama. I want some acknowledgement that Elaine and Gawain are like, that Moraine is their aunt. I want Moraine in this city with her crazy family. I want her to burn it down. We don't need Tom.
Okay.
She can burn it down. I mean, I just want drama. I want these messy royals.
I love the idea that it's not Tom, it's Moraine that sets it off. That is
so this is what I'm pulling for. I'm pulling for messy Damodred drama.
I tend to believe most, if not all, of your theories. So now I'm on board with this, because I feel like you have a good read. So yes, Skeeter's right. This is a long 40 seconds. You're right, Skeeter. Okay, you've all had the chance to enter. I'm closing entries now. You have a 1 in 60. What is it? 62 chance to win here. So our winner of tonight's Dusty Wheel swag, that'll be a gift certificate that I send you. Reach out to me on social media or on Discord. You can find the links in the description below. The winner is Farstrider. Farstrider wins. I do this every time. Did Farstrider win last week? Like, I'm always like, wait, no, that was Light Blinded Fool that won last week. Taylor's right. I always have this feeling. I think it was Innkeeper on us was like, I'm gonna do the same thing. Did they win last week? So Farstrider, congratulations. I swear, maybe I'm wrong. I swear Farstrider has won before, but maybe I'm misremembering. So if not, congratulations, Farstrider. You have won the Dusty Wheel swag of the week. So congratulations. That's always fun. Has Farstrider acknowledged the win yet in chat?
I think she did.
Yeah, she did.
Okay, cool. Congratulations. Shut the front door. I love it. There you go. Yes, you did. You finally won. If you haven't won before, I can never keep track. So congratulations for winning the mug, I guess, though it's a, Farsighter said, thanks everyone. I'm going to buy a lottery ticket now. That's how it happens here, everybody. Thank you very much for showing up, being part of the Dusty Wheel tonight, and be back here next Wednesday. Wheel of Time Idol, please come support everyone. It's really important. It's one of the most fun fandom things we do, if not just the geekiest, most fun of this place called the Dusty Wheel. So thank you all, and thank you, Bree and Joe, for being here. I'll make sure that we get the links to both of these wonderful people's pages up on the description of this afterwards. And this will be not the last time you see them. They will be back here at the Dusty Wheel talking some ridiculous season 2 rumors and news and speculation.
Always.
With that thought,
Thank you
as
so
we
much.
say around here,
Thanks, Matt.
good night from the Dusty Wheel, and smash to black.
Welcome to the Dusty Wheel.
Hey, welcome back to the Dusty Wheel.
You went right to kill it. Look at you, you're all ready. You're just done. I mean, this is like, this is one
really
of the
well.
biggest scenes.
And now I'm like, great, my turn.
And if you don't like that, you want to say, well, Robert Jordan could have made the 2 rivers all white. He could have, but he didn't. So,
Just complimented me on my dress, and as you can clearly see, I'm
Sad.
not
I see the Comey as something along the lines of a Shadar Haran analog.
It does make sense why it outlasted the breaking.
Yeah.
See, this is why I have Therese in the show, because she's going to correct everything that
Hey everybody, welcome to the Dusty Wheel Show. What? Meme Off Challenge. Yay!
Pair of like baby face mounted on like a huge body. So like all
This
of
is
a
not
sudden,
just
it's
a
like, wow.
traditional fantasy, right? There are sci-fi
And
elements.
just a moment
for those that
ago,
are kind of
Rafe tweeted something. So let me get my guest in here with me. And
probably, I would say, put in 70, 80% of the work. I got to be over the shoulder and be like, no,